What if the worst moment of your life was the start of your real one? Not the day you lost the job, the relationship, the role. The day you lost the illusion that those things were you. People call it failure. They say you collapsed, that you broke. But what if collapse wasn't a sign of weakness? What if it was proof that the false structure around you had grown too small? What if you were never meant to carry that identity to begin with? Carl Jung said that we often mistake our persona, our mask, for who we are. And it works until it doesn't. Until the world removes the scaffolding and you're left staring at the sky without armor, without applause. It's terrifying because you've spent years curating a life, holding it together, becoming the version of you others could admire. And now that version is gone. What do you do when the identity you built no longer fits? Who are you when the suit comes off and you realize it was always stitched from someone else's expectations? This is the moment most people run from. They self-correct, rebrand, hustle harder. But some very few stay. If that's you, stay. Just for a moment longer. Because what you're feeling right now might not be the end of something. It might be your beginning. Collapse is not the same as destruction. A nebula collapses to become a star. A seed splits open to become a tree. You're not being broken, you're being reformed. And if this is you, if you're walking through the wreckage asking, what now? Tell me in the comments what fell apart. What left you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.? I read every story because maybe this isn't the death of who you are. Maybe it's the death of who you never really were. And beneath that, something ancient is stirring. Something true, something ready to rise. You didn't fail. You were being freed. We're told to find ourselves, to build a personal brand. A version of self that's polished, productive, predictable, so we do. We gather labels like armor, professional, parent, provider, leader. We wear them long enough that they start to feel like skin until life does something we didn't plan for. It takes one of them away, and suddenly we panic. Because if the title is gone, if the structure falls, if the mask drops, then who's underneath? Carl Jung called it the crisis of persona. He warned that when the outer identity grows too rigid, too idealized, it cuts us off from the self. From the full, complex, contradictory truth of who we are. And so life intervenes. Not to punish us, but to return us. That's what you're feeling right now, not the loss of who you are. The loss of who you thought you had to be. And buried beneath that collapse is the wild, raw, wordless version of you who never asked for titles. The one who knew how to listen before the noise. The one who doesn't need to impress, only to be. You haven't disappeared, you've returned. But that return doesn't always feel like freedom. It often begins with grief. With silence. With a question you don't yet know how to answer. If I'm not that anymore, what am I? And that's where the gift hides, in that uncertainty. In that space where something new can finally speak. There's an old Sufi tale. A stream reaches the edge of a vast desert. It tries to cross, but each time it moves forward, its waters vanish into the sand. The stream begins to despair, but the wind whispers, let the sun lift you. Let me carry you. Let yourself become cloud. The stream resists. I'll die, it says. No, the wind replies, you'll transform. And so the stream surrenders. It becomes vapor, rises, travels, and falls again as rain, reborn but still itself. That's what this moment is, not a death, a change of form. You didn't lose your identity, you lost the script. And what's rising now doesn't need lines. It doesn't need a spotlight, it just needs truth. It needs you, and you've been here waiting beneath the mask this whole time. We treat rock bottom like a personal failure, as if ending up there means we did something wrong. But here's the truth no one tells you. Most people don't wake up when they're winning. They wake up when they're on the floor, There's a moment deep in the collapse when something in you whispers, maybe I can't keep doing this. And it's terrifying, because the old ways don't work anymore. But the new way hasn't shown up yet. That space is sacred. Carl Jung called this the beginning of transformation. Not when we ascend, but when the ego's strategies collapse under their own weight. When the persona crumbles and the self finally has room to speak. Here's a surprising truth. Psychologists have found that existential crises, the kind where people question their identity, purpose, and meaning, peak most often between ages 37 and 44. Not during youth, not in retirement, but right when everything should be working. That's not a coincidence. That's the soul saying, we've built enough. Now it's time to ask why. I remember talking to a woman who had it all on paper. Six-figure career, corner office, high performance, everything. And then burnout took her down. She couldn't move, couldn't pretend, couldn't perform. She told me at first I thought I was dying. But what really died was the mask I'd spent years building. She now runs a tiny retreat center in the woods. No more suits, no more ladder to climb. But every person who comes through her door feels seen in a way they've never felt before. She leads not with perfection, but with presence. That's the kind of leader who emerges from collapse. Not the one who climbs higher, the one who goes deeper. And if you're still in the middle of it, sitting in the dust of everything that's broken, stay. You haven't failed. You've been stripped of what wasn't true. You're not at the bottom, you're at the beginning. This is where the mask burns, where the story dies. Where the voice inside you stops whispering and starts to roar. Not the ego's voice, the other one. The one that doesn't want more, the one that wants real. This is sacred ground, and it only reveals its gift to those who don't run. This is the quiet part of transformation. No grand revelations, no instant clarity, just a strange stillness. Like the world hit pause and no one told you why. But if you listen closely, there's something moving beneath the silence, something small, something sacred, something new. Carl Jung called this emergence of the self the second birth. Not the one that gives you a name, the one that gives you back your soul. And it doesn't begin with certainty. It begins with a question. If I'm no longer who I was, who am I now? There's a man I met who asked himself that question the night his business collapsed. He'd lost his reputation, his identity. Everything he thought made him worthy. He said, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a failure. I saw nothing. And I realized maybe nothing is where the truth begins. That was the start. No breakthrough. No voice from the sky, just a breath. Just a crack in the story. And from that crack, light, you won't feel strong in this chapter. You'll feel raw, unformed. But something ancient is shaping itself in you. It's not your old identity coming back. It's something truer taking form. Like the stream in the Sufi tale. It reaches the desert, tries to cross, and fails. Again and again its waters disappear into the sand until the wind speaks. You must let go of being water. Let the sun lift you, let me carry you. The stream is terrified. To let go means to become something it's never been, but it surrenders. It rises, becomes vapor, becomes cloud, and eventually becomes rain. Still the stream, but different, transformed. You're in that transformation now. Not lost, not broken, just midair. Let yourself rise, let yourself change shape. You are not what you used to do. You are not who you used to be. You are not failing. You are becoming. And what's being born in you now doesn't need explanation. It only needs space. You've stopped pretending. You've stopped reaching for the version of you that once felt impressive, but never felt like home. And for the first time in a long time, you're still. Not because you gave up, but because something inside you finally let go. This is the moment no one talks about, not the breakdown, not the transformation, but the return. The quiet arrival of a presence that feels both familiar and new. The one you used to glimpse between identities, before the performance, before the pressure. This is the real you. Carl Jung said that only the self, not the ego, can hold the contradictions of who we are without splitting apart. And now, after everything's been stripped away, you've met that self. It didn't come dressed in certainty, it came carrying scars. And that's why it's strong. You're no longer the leader who needs to be right. You're the one who knows how to listen. You're no longer chasing power. You've become the kind of person people feel safe around because you've faced your own darkness and made peace with it. That's what makes you powerful now. Not the mask you wore, but the truth you walk in. You carry silence differently now. Not as something to fill, but something to honor. You don't posture, you don't push. You stand in your story, not as its victim, but as its witness. You speak less. And what you say lands deeper. You lead less with ambition and more with gravity. Because collapse taught you what no title ever could, that the ones who walk through fire don't come back louder, they come back cleaner. More still, more whole. That's who you are now. You're not trying to become someone. You're no longer afraid of being no one. You've come back as yourself. And that's the leader we've been waiting for. You thought the story was over. You thought the loss was final. But now you see it clearly. That fall wasn't your failure. It was your initiation. It burned away the noise. It burned away the mask. It burned away everything you were never meant to carry. Carl Jung once wrote, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You have walked through that darkness, not to escape it, to understand it. And what emerged on the other side is not a better version of who you were. It's someone entirely new. Not shinier, not louder, just true. You were never meant to survive the fire unchanged. You were meant to rise from it as someone who knows what matters. Someone who no longer needs to be impressive because they are already whole. Someone who leads not with perfection but with presence. The world is not short on loud voices. It is short on quiet strength. It is short on people who have sat in their own silence long enough to speak from something deeper than ego. That's what you carry now. The presence of someone who has collapsed and come back awake. And if you're still in the fire, still surrounded by the smoke, the silence, the confusion, stay there. Don't rush to rebuild. Let it fall, let it burn. Because what will rise from those ashes won't be the old you. It will be the one you were always becoming. And if this video met you in that place, if it caught you mid-collapse, I want you to know you are not broken, you are being remade. And someone else needs to hear that too, so share this. Drop your story in the comments. Because somewhere out there, another soul is walking through the dark, still thinking it means they failed. But maybe they haven't failed. Maybe they're just starting. Maybe they're collapsing into the beginning of everything real, just like you did. Just like all of us must walk on.